Hello, hello. This is going to be my deck tech for the Heritage format. So we're doing a league in the Discord, and I just figured this was a really cool format, and I kind of wanted to highlight it. I wanted to see if I could try my hand at recording my matches so that people could see what I was playing and what I was playing against. I think a lot of people are going to be kind of cooking, brewing up some decks. So first of all, kind of apologize if my stream quality or mic is bad. I'm not a streamer. I'm not a content creator. I'm just a dude with a headset mic, so bear with me here. If you don't know who I am, I'm Brian Marks. I used to be a Legacy player for quite some time, probably, what was that, like 2010 to maybe 2020, before Wizards took a shit all over everything. I quit, obviously, because they put no effort into balancing their game, and the crossover slop kind of took over everything. So I'm interested to see. This is a format called Heritage, which is basically Legacy, including all sets going forward, minus Universes Beyond and minus any supplemental sets. And that's retroactive. It's not just like the new supplemental sets. It also includes things like Plane Chase, things like Commander, things like the first Modern Horizons, and until you look at the list of cards that are from those sets, you don't realize how absolutely like shaped every format has been by those types of supplemental releases. So this is really interesting. It was a cool deck building challenge to look at and see like, oh well, this card isn't legal. Even things that we've kind of gotten really used to, like Flusterstorm, Baleful Strix, Council's Judgment, just like normal tools like that, Prismatic Ending, those are all not legal. In addition to the Modern Horizons 2 plus mistakes that we're absolutely saddled with, the Psychic Frogs and such. So anyway, this is a four-color black deck, basically a Grixis control deck, splashing white, or Esper control splashing red, depending on how you want to look at it. This is a deck that I played in the last, probably actually the last Legacy constructed event I played was Eternal Weekend when it was online. This list is missing four cards. I don't know what they are, but probably Expressive Iterations. Um, this was before that was banned. So yeah, basically the idea is Monastery Mentor is really good with a lot of card draw. Brainstorm Ponder, Expressive Iteration, Thoughtseizes, Hymns for Disruption, and then the best removal in Plow and Ending. So I was like, okay, let's start from here. I've tried a couple different variants of this deck in Heritage. As you can see, I have a decent amount of stock, but I haven't played that many rounds because it's a new growing format, and mostly just playing with a couple buddies. So the principles behind this, basically, just a disclaimer early because I know a lot of people are not going to watch the whole video. I'm not trying to come up with the best deck possible and to win the whole event necessarily. If I wanted to do that, I just play Delver because Tempo has been S tier in Legacy since the start, and even without the Modern Horizons cards, dazing and wasting somebody out of the game is probably a good idea. Or I would play combo, because a lot of the anti-combo tools are not here in this format. We don't have Force Negation, we don't have Flusterstorm, and then some other supplemental stuff from like Disruptor Flute. There's a lot of cards that people are playing in current Legacy to disrupt combo decks that just aren't here. So I think those decks get a huge boost. Control and mid-range strategies necessarily don't, but this is what I wanted to play. It looked like a fun deck. So, like I said, disclaimer, this is kind of just what I wanted to play and cards that I thought were cool. And I'm only really recording these matches just to get some eyes on the format and get people to talk about it and maybe potentially, add some more people to the Discord to get more matches going. I think it's a cool idea. Like I said, I have no interest in playing a current format that has the crossover cards, the Modern Horizons cards. So if there's any future for me and Magic the Gathering, it's going to be in something like this, where it's a community run format. We have control over the ban list. For example, they deviated from the current legacy ban in the case of Candelabra of Tawnos, because I think everybody with a brain can say, well, that was a stupid ass ban. And especially because we don't have the, Tron deck, the One Ring, any of the broken stuff in this format. So it's like, why should Candelabra remain banned? So there might be more changes like that going forward where the format deviates slightly from Legacy. People have already talked about Entomb, although really the problem with that is Atraxa, which is not a crossover card. Anyway, let me just kind of get to my thoughts about this deck before we start the first round. Like I said, similar to that deck that I played from Eternal Weekend, we don't have Prismatic Ending, which is kind of huge because that is main deck out to Chalice. It's an out to Equipment. Like, it's just, there's so many things that Prismatic Ending kind of solves problems for you. And also Baleful Strix. Man, I miss Baleful Strix. That's like one of my favorite cards ever, and it just unfortunately is not legal in this format. So, as I said, I think that because we have no Force of Negation and no Flusterstorms, uh, this format combo is stronger than it normally would be. So I wanted a deck that could attack combo from two axes. There's basically, a trifecta of ways to fight combo historically in Legacy, and that's permission, counter magic, discard, hand disruption, and permanent based hate. So I kind of wanted to hit as many of those categories as I could, while also just being a fair, mid-rangey deck that can still compete on that axis. Because if you're super anti-combo and then you get paired against somebody who's just like death and taxes, you look like a real idiot. So I thought these cards were pretty reasonable. Thoughtseize Hymn to Turok. Um, uh, Drown in the Lock is essentially like a fifth counter here. I just liked this because it's not 100% dead and matchups for counter magic is bad. And people are kind of filling their graveyards relatively quickly with cantrips. I think it's decent. These are kind of just fun ofs here: the Jace, the Drown, and the Voidren. So, I reserve the right to play my neat little fun ofs just to get some enjoyment out of it. Um, Also, another advantage of the black spells is that Snapcaster Mage and Monastery Mentor both, and also to a lesser extent now Corey Steelcutter, uh, really reward you for playing proactive cards. If you have a hand that's like all reactive, like permission and removal, well, I play a Corey Steelcutter, and then next turn I just pass because you don't have anything I can kill, you don't have anything I can counter. It's not likely I'm going to get a trigger off this on my terms. Whereas in Snapcaster Mage as well, it's like I kind of want to play this and flashback a discard spell, when I want to, or even a cantrip or a flow state or something like that. So I think these kind of lead you towards playing a more proactive spell package and less of a reactive one. You could easily build a deck that's Mentor and Force of Wills and a bunch of counter spells, spell snares, spell pierce, whatever's legal in this format. You could go that way, but I do think that this Mentor and discard spell synergy is pretty strong. I've done it a lot across formats, Legacy, Modern, whatever. Um, Also, discard I think synergizes very well with the flow state. This is a new card to me. Obviously, I haven't played Legacy in a while, and also just new in general. This card just seems absolutely busted. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it was banned in Legacy relatively soon. But yeah, basically expressive iteration. The downside is somewhat negligible. Your turn two flow state is very unlikely to be online. You would need like Ponder into Force of Will, but it's very reasonable to think like a turn four plus flow state is always going to be active. And without, in the absence of Grave Hate, it's going to stay active. It's not like you need to keep re-triggering this thing to meet its condition. Your graveyard just kind of stays static as long as you're smart with your Snapcaster Mages. So this card alone keeps your hand pretty juiced, keeps the cards flowing for Corey Steelcutter and Mentor. Just an absolute powerhouse card. So also, as an aside, I think this is a good reason for people to want to play Spell Snare because Snapcaster, Flow State, there's a lot of good twos in this format. So, uh, yeah, so the discard being sorceries, you have a higher sorcery count than most decks. I have Ponder, Thoughtseize, Hymn, whereas other decks might only have Ponder and then like one or two other sorceries for Flow State. So I think that the black kind of synergizes very well with that. I think Plow is the removal spell of choice. It hits all the big threats. We don't have Murktide Regent, but there are lots of other Delve threats that people are playing. There's like Moon Shadows, there's a Boron Oculus. So I wanted removal that was flexible enough to kill those. So Plow goes there, obviously works with the Mentor, just super cheap, efficient removal. This Void Rend I want to talk about. The lack of Council's Judgment and Prismatic Ending means that it's really hard to answer non-creature permanents in a lot of colors. Abrupt Decay in black-green looks like a good choice, but I was looking around and just kind of seeing, and I was kind of unhappy with all my options. This was a card that I wanted to play. I love gold cards. I mean, it just seems kind of cool. It's mostly a fun of, but I actually have had some games where like I needed to answer two enchantments, and Void Rend, Snapcaster Void Rend was like an out that wouldn't have otherwise existed if this card wasn't in the deck. It also pitches to Force of Will and isn't counterable, so that's like pretty reasonable. This is kind of like you have essentially five permission spells because the drown is like half of one, and then you have plows and the void rend and the drown K commands. You have like a little bit of crossover. These are more flexible removal spells, whereas these are just removal. um the other option. And honestly, I'm not going to even try to really defend it too much. You could just cut the red entirely. K Command and Corey Steel Cutter is like a pretty small package. You could play like an Esper version of this and just cut the Pyroblasts. I have had a philosophy for a while that like if you're going to play a mana base with a ton of dual lands, adding more colors is not that uh, restrictive. You know, you're going to lose a certain amount of games to just days waste stifle. You know, that's been oppressive in Legacy for a decade plus. You know, it happens to you. I've played games with Miracles where my only non-basics were two Tundras and a Caracas, and sometimes you just open like Tundra Ponder, your Tundra gets wasted, your next land gets your fetch land gets stifled, you know. So your ability to play around those like mana based denial openings is not really improved that much by playing a couple basics. Like imagine you cut these red duels and played like an island plains in a swamp, so you had one of each basic. Okay, well sometimes you're going to fetch island plains, then you're going to draw him to Turok and look like an idiot. You know, sometimes you're not going to be able to snapcaster a blue spell because you have your three basics out. You know, so I figure I'm just going to go all in. If I lose to some greedy mana bases or greedy mana hate, then that's just on me. You know, I kind of just accept this as par for the course in Legacy. You also have a slightly higher land count. I went up to 20 to play this Mystic Sanctuary, and you have a lot of card velocity with these 12 cantrip card selection cards, so it might not be that big of a deal. If somebody plays a Blood Moon, I mean, maybe I'll just fetch my island and Hydroblast it. Like, I'm not super expecting to win those matchups, but it is kind of inviting disaster to play like a 10 non-basic land mana base. I fully accept that. So, kind of like a Always Sunny in Philadelphia title card. Brian's going to lose to Wasteland 3 rounds in a row or whatever. Um, Anyway, so that's basically the main deck. I just really like the idea of Mentor plus proactive spells, Flow State plus proactive sorceries. Corey Steel Cutter seems like it fits really well with this strategy. I haven't played with this card before. It's still relatively new to me, but it seems absolutely nuts. And it seems nuts in a fair way in the sense that, like, you don't just get absolutely run over by it. You play it on turn 2. It probably triggers turn 3, turn 4. Maybe they remove it. You know, it's not like a Tameo or something where, like, if it's left unchecked, the game is just over. This is more of a value engine for this deck. In other decks with Mishra's Bauble, where you can trigger it reliably on turn 2, maybe that's a bit more of a problem. But here it seems relatively fair. So you have essentially, what is this? Okay, commands over here. 11 threats. The Jace is kind of just a fun of as well, but I mean, it's just he's better than all. How are you not going to play him? So, as far as the sideboard goes, like I said, combo is like my big. I think combo is very strong in this format because of the lack of the Modern Horizons tools, Consign to Memory, Flusterstorm to fight it. So I really wanted to kind of gear my board to that. And also, particularly, I want to talk about I have the Surgicals, I have the Containment Priests. I think that the Sneak and Show, Reanimator, Natural Order packages are, excuse me, particularly strong because Atraxa is like the craziest fatty they've ever printed, and that's not from a Modern Horizons or like a crossover set that just was printed into Standard, so it's legal here in Heritage. That kind of rubs me the wrong way because Atraxa feels like a Modern Horizons card to me, at least. It just like does it all, has no downside, pitches to Force of Will, is green for Natural Order. Like it really is just like a very brainless card. You don't have to think about your reanimate package or like specific silver bullets. Atraxa just does it all. So I wanted to have a lot of hate for them. So the Surgicals for the Reanimator package, the Containment Priests, and then a stack of Blasts and Dovin's Veto for like show and tell strategies. And then the Natural Order, like Cradle Control, quote unquote, or Elves type decks, I do have Temporary Lockdown and a Supreme Verdict for those. So some smaller removal plus the counters plus the extractions like might be enough. And also, I mean, the main deck is probably not that bad against combo. I have Permission, I have Discard, I have a Clock, not a super fast one. There's definitely a chance that I have against combo anyway in the main deck, but I definitely wanted to gear my board to fight it. Paradoxically, though, and this is something I was talking to my friend about, even though combo is very strong in the format, I don't think that many people will play it in a league like this. The structure of the league is it's like 8 dudes in a Discord, very casual, not much prize support, if any. I think it's just like a trophy to say that, hey, you won, you know? So I think people are going to play what they like. So I expect a lot of people to play mid-range blue because that's what people enjoy in Legacy, you know, mid-range control decks. I expect people to play their kind of like pet decks from old Legacy that have been kind of priced out in the modern era. or they might play like a current archetype in Legacy that is easy to port to Heritage, so it doesn't lose that much from the absence of the crossover and Modern Horizons cards. So even though I think combo is very strong in the format, I don't expect to see too much combo, if that makes some sense, just because it's not the most fun thing if you're going to join just like a casual league with a bunch of friends, like, hey, I'm going to show up and play Sneak Show every round and just absolutely crush you. So, and for a similar reason, I don't expect too much Delver. There's like some Moon Shadow decks that people have been talking about, but I don't expect to see like a straight blue red Delver unless people really, want to win. Um, so my sideboard, while it's constructed to be anti-combo, this maybe is not correct for this particular field. Is kind of what I'm trying to point out. I might have these containment priests and surgicals never come in across all my matches. Let me speak a little bit about the structure of the tournament. Like I said, it's round robin. I think within pods. So I'm going to play 3 matches, and then we're going to cut to some elimination rounds if I make it. But because I'm interested in just really highlighting the format, seeing what decks other people play, I'm going to try to play against all 7 participants in the league at some point. So I might be recording other matches that are exhibition matches that don't count towards the league standings, but just to see what people play and what kinds of decks people brought, and maybe I'll even get to talk to some people and have them kind of explain their decisions. Um, and dude, look at all these cards, man. These are some of my favorite cards in the history of Magic. I've played Snapcaster since the day it was released in basically every format. Same with Monastery Mentor, Standard, Modern, Legacy, Pioneer, Vintage. Jace is just my boy. These are just cards that spark joy. So I'm glad that I get to play with some of them. I'm really excited to see what other people have cooked with, because the league is relatively new, and I think that everybody's kind of kept their stuff kind of under wraps. I know one other person in the league is my buddy Joe, and he's playing Zombardment, which is an absolute classic deck. We've played a couple matches, and sometimes he just absolutely runs me over. I can't beat like 2 grave crawlers looping, with a bombardment to protect them from plow. So yeah, just interested to see what the format looks like. I think I have a general base of like universal answers. I'm not going to get caught with my pants down, because discard plus permission plus universal removal means I can kind of beat anything with the right draw. But I also don't think that I'm like a huge favorite in any matchup, because this is just, a Jundi, Grixis type deck. So I'm going to be recording the matches one at a time. This deck tech will go up first, and then we'll see how it goes.